Welcome everyone to Pay Raise Playbook. So I have today one of my phenomenal, amazing, dynamic, incredible client, Ara Manteen. So Ara, let's go ahead and get this party started. Um, what was going on with you? What year was it? Because here I want to set it up. So today we're going to be talking about how to stop anxiety and fear forever, right? And so there are so many people who are going through it right now. And so we talked a couple of years ago, and I want to talk about how you got to where you are today, which is weirdly happy. But then eventually what I want to talk about is where would you be if you had not done the work, right? Like, and I'm watching so many people try to normalize mental health, normalize high functioning anxiety, normalize high functioning depression. And I want to talk about normalizing wholeness. So that's what I want to talk about today. That's why we're here. That's what I want to share. And it's one thing for me to continue to say the same thing again and again and again and again. Because you know what I feel like, Ara? I feel like we on Christy's greatest hits in 2025 with everything that's popping off. I'd be like this. I talked about that.
It doesn't impact me. It happens. I don't have to be of the world.
I
Yes.
talked about that already. So let's go ahead and get this party started. What was going on? And I want to be clear, y'all. Let me know if y'all are listening. Put hey in the please, y'all. We will need some audience participation. I wanted to call this episode a high ASS mess. I really didn't know what to title it. I had to go to ChatGPT and say, what can I title this? That's going to be clickability, but I don't even know what to call. I am proud of your journey. Let's just say that. Let's go ahead and get this part started. I'm proud of your journey. I said, Lord, this lady right here. What are we going to call this thing? And what is she here to share today? So what was going on with you? Tell us what year it was, and then what was going on with you when you reached out to us at Vision Finder International.
Absolutely. So good day, everybody. And Christy, thank you so much. It's nice to be here with you. And it is definitely an honor. So I appreciate this. So the year was actually 2022 when we connected. And the day where I recognized I was finally happy was October 8th, 2022. So it was early 2022 when I actually stumbled across you and one of your videos on LinkedIn. And that was by happenstance because it showed up in my feed and I thought someone that I knew commented on one of your posts only to find out it was the same exact name, but not even the person that I knew. And so when I saw that and I saw your video, I actually came into your DM because I was at a very low place when it came to grief and being overwhelmed by grief and not wanting to be present anymore because of that. And it wasn't about anything related to income, salary, et cetera, but all those things were a byproduct of the work that you had me go through and the amount of time and fights and everything spent throughout that process, right? So it took diligently some hard work over almost a year, and I still continue to do the work, but I do it so joyfully and equipped with the right tools in my toolbox and to be able to share the story, the journey, et cetera, with others to get other people on this path to happiness and joy. We don't know what it really is. We thought we knew, but we really don't know.
You know what's interesting? I could not wait to unpack this with you. I said, my God, when are we going to get this lady on the interview? Because, I mean, outstanding, phenomenal, and I'm always right. So, like, where do we even start? Let's talk about deep grief and deep depression, because we're told that it's normal to, when you lose a parent, that you grieve for 7 years. Like, if you ever get over it all, and some people will be like, they go under when their parents die, and I think you had this timeline in your head of 7 years, and you were just in the beginning phases of it. So unpack that for us, and I'm like, it doesn't take that long. There's a way to be able to get past that, but I want you to talk about like exactly where you were mentally, spiritually, emotionally, whenever you reached out to us in 2022.
Yeah. So, gosh, I don't even know if I can say that I had a timeline associated with it. I just know that everything was happening in a very unexpected way. I thought I would have rapidly been okay. and not understanding the things that we read and talk about with everyone grieves differently, etc. You don't know what that looks like until you have to be the one to go through it with such a close figure in one's life. I remember reading a book. Cicely Tyson had made the comment, losing a parent, losing your mother is like trying to navigate in this world with no arms and no legs. That's what it felt like. I was stuck and I thought I was going to live like that forever. And it's like, if I'm going to live like that forever, why even be here? It's too painful. I did not know what life would be like without the support and the love of just, my mom. One of the things I remember, she and I, it was a 2-year journey for her, slow death. And I remember she was texting us and she was like, make sure y'all do, and I'm from New Orleans, so very, very, very country, right? She was just like, make sure y'all take care of them children and do X, Y, Z, right? And I'm like, you taught us everything. You just never taught us how to live without you. And that still sits with me till this day, right? And so it made me put things into motion to prepare even my own children in a very ensemble-like way for life whenever I'm not here or their dad isn't here.
So let's talk about, why did you say yes? Because I remember our call. I remember the call. I remember the past calls, but why did you say yes? And so I've talked to, thousands and thousands and thousands of women over the past 5 years. You already know how I do. And a lot of women don't believe that they can actually be happy. A lot of women say, well, I want a better job. And I'm like, but let's be happy too. They don't want that. They don't believe that they can be healed or that they can be happy. They just want a better job. And I'm like, the job is a job is a job. Let's have life and live it more abundantly, and let's get the money. So unpack that for us. I forgot what question I asked you. What question I asked you? Do you remember?
Yeah, I do remember. So what got me to you? Why did I say yes? Desperation. I didn't have anything else that I could try. I read the books. I tried therapy, tried group therapy with my siblings and everything. And you talked about that high functioning depression. I didn't know I was depressed for like 10 plus years and everything. And adequately showed up in life, right? But that high functioning depression piece. And so when we were on our call, I'm like, well, I don't know this woman, but she sounds like she's confident. She sounds like she knows what we're talking about. And I don't know if you recall, but when we were going back, you kept talking about, I'm like, I'm not worried about the job. I'm happy with my money. Like, all that is fine. I just need some help. I'm down. I need some help getting up. And I was just like, there's nothing else I could possibly try. So let's do this. The reviews for you on LinkedIn, the comments from people, it was all positive. And so, and the other thing that I liked is, although I don't like you when you do it with me, but I like it, is your style and how you just call the thing out and there's no fluff around. And with my personality, I need that. That's how you reach me. That's how it becomes effective. And you were just in the trenches. You and your coaches were just in the trenches with me. And so that's when I was able to keep saying yes. I remember there was one time when I was ready to get out of the program. And I was like, you know what? I'm just not at the place. I can't meditate when I sit down to do it. It's just not working, like all the things. And I was like, maybe I'll give it another try next year. And y'all were like, as long as you keep showing up, we're going to keep showing up with you. And that stuck with me. And that's what pushed me on through.
I really, yo.
Going back to the title you wanted.
All right, work. I wanted to talk to Ara for 30 minutes before we got on this call. So we're going to unpack all of these emotions before we went live. But she jumped on 3 minutes ahead of time. So y'all going to see my joy and I want to punch her in the neck. It's going to be good. It's going to be good because this is real. Like, this is real life, right? Like, this is pride and this is joy. So, it's interesting because I didn't know that I was depressed per se, because you're a mom and you're a winner and you're an executive. So my depression back in 2012, 2010 didn't look like other people. Because when I see people who be like they depressed, I'll be like, man, you a loser. I mean, I'm gonna call it straight. Like, that ain't that you can. I'm not gonna wear that label. I didn't know that I was depressed until I came out of it, and then look back, it was like, what in the world? What was going on with me? So it's like I had to come on the other side of it before I was willing to look back. And so I love to work with high achievers because we're not willing to admit to anything ever. We're not going to admit we're not going to admit that we're going through something. And if we are going through something, it's the biggest kept secret ever. We're not going to slow down, and we'll do certain things, but because we're so high functioning, you know, you can go to therapy, but they talking, you be like, man, you thinking about what you got to do the next day. So you ain't really like unpacking your stuff. So let's talk about the work. What was most shocking to you in the first couple of weeks in some of the information that you learned about yourself?
The most shocking was the amount of homework we had every week and the diligence. I was surprised to see the level of diligence that I put into those messages, from the Miles Monroe to the Earl Nightingales and everything, and applying it back, and the onion layers getting peeled, because upon the initial hearing of some of the information and the questions that were a part of the process, I'm like, I'm good. Like, there's nothing there. Like, where is the thing? It took maybe about week 3 or 4 for there to be this outbreak. And I remember being in my cohort and just giving my update, and tears were flowing. And when you, to the point, like, I didn't even know you could cry in your sleep until I started crying in my sleep, because it was just like, I can feel what other people are saying they are feeling to get to that other side. I didn't know how to get there. And I felt like I just had to keep doing this. And there was a hunger in my soul that I needed to get to, which gets back to just sitting in that meditation and touching into the little girl that I was, and showing up for her how I should be at this point in my life, because life just lives, right? And so a lot of those dreams, aspirations, they were drowning, they were buried. And so I was able to bring that back to the surface and be like, this stuff is still relevant. All these years later, let me do something, because I owe it to her. I owe it to myself and to my children. That was the part too. I needed to be the proper example for my children, to be raw and vulnerable with them so that they can be better than I was. And I can tell you a lot of my rationale, how I navigated life prior to, a lot of it was based out of fear. A lot of decisions based out of fear that were rooted in my upbringing and the construct and the dogmas.
Let's unpack a little bit of that, because, you know, it's taken me 5-6 years to really explain what we do over here at Vision International. All right, it shouldn't be that hard, but it was, right? Like, we get the results, and I know what I wanted, but to be able to, and I can say it, but not be able to package it in a very clean way on the transformations that we get over here. They're amazing. So you have the version 1.0, which is how your childhood defines you, right? Version 2.0 is how your job defines you. And version 3.0 is how God designed you to be, right? And so my goal is to awaken people, awaken women especially, to their version 3.0, so we can get to who God created us to be. But you have to let go of and unpack some of the other stuff. So what was some of the things that were holding you back, right? Because the stuff that shows up in your job is really a reflection of, like you just talked about, the dogma and some of the things that happen in childhood, whatever the experiences are. So what were some of the things that were holding you back from seeing how great you are based on some of the stereotypes of the dogma from where you were?
Not dealing with the emotional trauma as it transpired in my life. And so I just, that didn't really, I'm strong. I'm a Capricorn. We're good. You know, we could keep on pushing and getting things done, right? Not realizing that I just kept picking up more rocks and bags along the way until it just finally came to, it was going to be life or death. It came to a headway. And I can tell you, my children were not enough to keep me. My husband was not enough to keep me. It had to come from within. I had to see there's a rainbow at the end and there's another side. And I'm like, if what this woman is talking about regarding this happiness and joy exists, okay, I'm not going to die without trying to seek this thing wholeheartedly. and I found it. When I tell you, I don't know what day of the week it is most of the time. I wake up in the morning because the first thing I do, go to my closet, light my candle, meditate, have my binaural beats on, the bells, whatever. But there was a time when I used to dread Mondays, making myself sick on Sundays, and I look forward to every Friday. Now it doesn't matter because I'm gonna live life whether it's a Monday, Tuesday, or Friday.
So I remember when I burned out and burned everything to a crisp and ended up at my brother's house. It's almost one day the chickens come to roost. Does that make sense? Like high achieving women are masters at compartmentalization. We don't really process a lot of stuff. Like something that happened, you get that box, you be like this. I ain't got time because we're focused on our next thing, Ara. We're focused on Kathy's here. Kathy is,
hey, Kathy,
it's the girl. My God.
Can you believe it? Look at me, Kathy.
we haven't gotten to the rough part, Kathy. We still warming up the crowd. Trying to make it seem like she got some sense. So we're gonna start out slow, but we ain't gonna be long because you ain't got all day. Hold on, I gotta show you what Kathy's saying. Here she go. Can you see that?
Oh, thank you. I feel it.
All right. So your version 1.0, like you didn't want to be here anymore because I asked you like what did you want to share? Like you were like I'm ready to go to the upper room. Like I'm done. Like this is too much. It's too heavy. I don't want to be here anymore. And a lot of that this is what I was talking about. When the chickens come to roost, is like one day all of the boxes like fall out of the closet on top of us, and that's when we're buried. Because it's like whatever we don't manage, whatever we don't rectify, it starts to manifest into a whole SHIT show where one day we're gonna have to unpack it, where we can't run from ourselves anymore. And so 2020 was a time when a lot of people can run from themselves anymore. The death of a parent is like that, and when you can't run anymore, and when something stops you, now you start to see the bonfire of experiences that you've created that you never unpacked, and they will bury you. So that's where we are in 2025. People keep talking about, well, what's just happened in the past couple months. I'm like, no, y'all been holding on to stuff before 2020. Right? Y'all been holding on to stuff before we got to 2020. Now 2025, if you've done nothing, you're in trouble. Like I want to be 100% clear. You are in trouble, and you're solely responsible for unpacking your stuff. So let's talk about Ara. Let's talk about the swimmer who trying to save people. Why do y'all fight for like a trained lifeguard? When you see a person drowning, a trained lifeguard will go out and do certain things and techniques to be able to bring the person over. But typically what happens with an untrained person who goes out to save somebody who's drowning, they drown too. Right? We built for this because we used to be you. Maybe not as, I guess I was as combative as you were, which is why we got this. Kathy, it takes the hands and the love of the Lord to be able to pull some of these women out of the water. What was going on? Like, why were you? What were you resistant to? And even I wanted to ask you in that moment, but I didn't think that you were mentally ready to answer that question in 2022. Like, why are you fighting? Right? Like, so was it the work, or was it fear of actually being happy, or was it fear that it's not going to work? Like, inquiring minds, Kathy want to know too. We want to know, Ara, why were you fighting your freedom?
Yeah, very good question. And I would say, emotional intelligence is a great thing, because that was a good call. Because if you were in front of me, I probably would have wanted to eat your head off, right? Because you are absolutely right. It came across as such, but that's not what I wanted to be and what I was trying to be. It wasn't a fear of being happiness, because I wanted that thing. I wanted it so badly that I could taste it, but didn't know it was possible for me, but I was going to figure that out. And it was, I think, some of not knowing that you've already tried some things and it sounded very similar, and wanting to be understood and heard, and sometimes not feeling like I'm not heard and understood, and not realizing that is also part of the process, because y'all have been there, done that, and what that looks like, what it sounds like, what it smells like, and not trusting that or understanding that when I was so low. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it's the you couldn't figure out how it was going to work, because boss women like to boss, and if you can't see the end, like we told you that we can get you to the end, but you didn't know how exactly it was going to work, and we're like, trust us, let us pull you out, we're trained, let us do this, and you're like, show it to me. You're like, we can't show it to you as much as you have to move through it.
That is absolutely right. I am a forest through the trees type of person. Like, I will see the end and can figure that thing out and then work backwards. That wasn't happening so easily with me. And I was so agitated with myself on, why am I getting in my own way? How do I stop doing this very thing? But I can tell you, the moment I said it, October 8th, 2022, I was on my balcony and just having thoughts. And I actually was thinking about my mom, and I started smiling. I was like, I had to pull my phone out and look at the camera like, am I smiling? Like, am I happy? And I'm having these thoughts and no tears are rolling down my face or anything. Like, I think this is my moment. And I went and journaled like 4 or 5 pages just so that I would not forget what that feeling is like. And just like you had us do our I love me walls and everything, for those reasons, I go back to those journal entries when I feel like there's no way or life is just, taking over. But yeah, I want to see the data. I'm a statistician by trade. So let me see what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's the left brain people, which is typically high achievers. Like, high achievers are left brain, and you wanted to see it, and we're like, no, you have to walk through it and believe in this woo-woo metaphysical law of attraction. We're gonna get you here. And left brain people like this, show me the data. And we're like, you've seen the information, you've seen the results. Can you trust, right? And so I think it's a I put up a post, yesterday, where I talked about, it ain't easy to be Christy Rutherford's clients, because Christy Rutherford holds you to the highest standards, and I expect greater for my clients, even if y'all can't see it for yourselves. I hold the standard and I hold the vision until you become who I saw, right? And so one of my clients wrote, yeah, it ain't easy. I was like, oh, okay, it would be easy. So you know me, we gonna banter, go back and forth. It would be easy if y'all would just delightfully and merrily follow the process and come over here and do these. I'm gonna start working with some passive women, because maybe passive women will follow the plan, right? And she wrote back, yeah, you're right, we don't come easy. So that's the my clients, Lord Jesus.
I heard someone say yesterday, we put the fun in dysfunctional. So that's what we do for you. We put the fun in dysfunction for you. That's why you keep showing up for us. But I will say, because you had high expectations, and most of us have high expectations on ourselves, right? But it's not very often that we see people that look like us that also have it for ourselves from a place of love, where they are leading with love. That's the important part, not a place of, let me just pick you apart so we can criticize and critique what you're not doing well. No, this is the greatness that I see. I need you to see it in yourself. How many times have you said that with me? And then I learned that you didn't expose us to everything unless we elevated to some other levels. And I was like, I want what? Stop gatekeeping on whatever this other stuff is that is good that can. So that like made me put the pedal to the metal some more, because I was not going to get. So there you go. And I was not going to be one of those people that you told, you got to go through the process again. No, I'm not going through this again.
Well, here's the thing. It's what we don't have as women, as high achieving women, as women of color, and as Black women. We don't have people who hold us to a higher standard, our greater selves, like who we can be, and in wholeness and in joy and in happiness. Now we have people who say, well, actually, I don't even know, because I read an article that talked about Black women not getting jobs. I said, my God, when are we going to talk about winning? So we don't have people who are like, you know what, you can get the money, You can have the joy, you can have peace, you can have wholeness, you can have your mental health, you can have your physical health, you can have your family, you can have your marriage, you can have your kids. When I talk about on LinkedIn, I leave a couple of comments that women can have it all. I get women who leave me nasty comments that it's not possible. And I'm like, don't allow people who haven't achieved it to tell you that it's not possible. And they be like, well, you don't have kids, you don't understand. I'm like, I got clients who have kids and they're married and they went through stuff and that there is joy on the other side. So what advice do you have for people? Oh,
one second. Sorry about that.
All right. There's real life over here. What advice do you have for people who are like, what's one or two things that women can do who are listening right now, who are on the bottom and they don't know if they can get back up?
You have to sit with yourself and be honest with yourself. It's your truth that doesn't need to be shared with anyone else, right? That's between you and your God or whatever else. But there has to be a point where you're sick and tired of being sick and tired. That's the only way that we can go through this type of transformation, because it is life changing. I will never know what prior to 2020 and 2022 felt like for me. That is so, I can't even believe that I accepted that in navigating my life, in all honesty. So at some point, y'all just have to start believing that you're worth it, that you deserve it, and that the life that you might have led up to now has been BS, and call it what it is. And we don't have all the answers. And sometimes that's just okay. We thrive in ambiguity. And in that thriving in ambiguity, we become so much better. And I got introduced to so many wonderful, exciting, healthy parts of myself that I didn't even know existed. I'm like, I'm funny and everything. I didn't know. Everybody was like, you ain't funny. No, I work hard and everything else. But let me tell y'all what I am. Like, and nobody can tell me what I'm not anymore. That was so important, even down to my husband and some of the dozens comments or whatever he'll make, right? It's just like, I know that I know. And I used to go back and ask people for opinions when I was thinking about decisions, etc. And I remember you talking about what it looked like whenever you became confident and made it through your transformation. And I know now when I'm faced with a decision, or I don't ask anybody what they think anymore. I know that I know that I know within myself, within my gut. And it is so exhilarating to be at that place where, you know what, I'll just make the next best decision. It's not about, did I make the right decision? I was clear and I was focused in the process to get there, or throughout the process of meditation, my soul told me. And so it has to be right.
Let's talk about the version 3.0, because that's pretty much when you remember who you are, right? Like, that's what it is. When you remember who you are and you let go of, typically decisions that we make are based on what will make other people comfortable. Well, I'm going to make this decision because I want to make my husband happy, or my kids happy, or my job happy, or somebody in my family happy. So all of our decisions that we make for our personal selves are typically rooted in what's going to make other people happy while we're miserable, right? Or you question, or you get advice from, and they don't do it out of malice, right? They don't do it out of, malintent, or we want to be selfish and you serve our needs. But that's how we set it up as high achievers, because we're servers and we're givers and we're people pleasers. So when we ask people advice, it's going to be tainted. That is always going to serve their good, and we surrender what's for our good. But we haven't checked in so long on what makes us happy that we don't even know that we're being manipulated by ourselves, right? So what's your morning routine like? Because I tell people about my morning routine, they be like, you full of it. I be like, all right, man. Well, I can introduce you to a whole host of women who follow a great morning routine, and it's when y'all want to become serious. And I want to be clear, y'all know what to do. All right, we know what to do. We read the books, we listen to the podcasts, we read the articles. We're not doing it though. So what does your morning routine look like?
Okay. Before I answer that question, I'd like to touch upon a couple of things you just mentioned, and that putting others first. So like I mentioned, I'm from New Orleans. So culturally, that is what we do. It's everybody else, and then we're always the last one. I saw my mom do it, my grandparents, and everything, right? And so being able to accept that that's not the only way to navigate as a woman, that was a hard challenge. Like, what does that even look like? How do you do that? That was one thing. And so when I think about I remember going through it and was leaving to go do some meditation. My husband at one point had asked me, he was like, well, what does this mean for me? This ain't got nothing to do with you, you know? And so being able to even respond with that amount of confidence and just like, how dare you, the audacity around that, right? It was a shift for everybody in my house. And so now they are trained. If mama is in that closet or in that bathtub, don't you come in here. So my morning routine consists of, and for several months, I had to set the alarm for 4 o'clock, because it took me so long to get into that place where my mind wasn't running all the time during my meditation. So first thing I do when I wake up is I get to the closet, I light my candle, I'll find something on YouTube, whether it be some binaural beats or a bell meditation, etc. And I just start, I do my deep breaths, but on that third deep breath, and when I do my breaths, it's not just it's and I'm pushing that stuff out, being very vocal at the same time. So for the sake of professionalism, I won't experiment with that right now. But what do I do after that third one? I imagine a ball on top of my head, and that during that breath, I'm circulating it around my body and putting that shield of protection, almost like a rubber band, so that I'm equipped for whatever comes throughout the day. It'll just bounce off me, and there's no emotional reaction, no one staying in my mind free mentally, right? And once I transpire from there, I'm going to listen to something positive, or I'm going to read something positive, and I'm thinking about my day. What do I need to have happen? If I'm anxious and nervous about something, sometimes I'll still get the butterflies in my stomach when I have to have difficult conversations. And so I picture, and I'm intentional about, how do I want that conversation to go, that interaction to happen? And that is always what ends up happening. And I try to check my vibration along the way, because if I'm going to ask for something, I better be vibrating high instead of bringing out all of this collusion and confusion in that vibrational sphere, right? So when I think about what you had said too about everybody else, I remember Abraham Hicks was talking about her husband, Jerry Hicks, that said, what, you rather make yourself miserable? Like, make it make sense, you know? And so I sit with those things, and that's part of my process. And when I go to bed in the evening, I have my journal that we have from you where we answer those questions. And even if I don't work every question through, there's going to be 3 things that I'm going to make note of that I'm grateful for that happened throughout that day, and set the intention for other people or for myself for the next 24 hours.
You have kids. How many kids do you have?
We have 5 because we're blended, but I have 3 that live in the house.
Okay, so 3. What are their ages? Because you know.
Yes.
Go ahead.
6, 7, and 17.
Okay. Because when I talk to women, they use their children as a reason for why they can't do something. Mm-hmm. I got young kids, you don't understand. I'd be like, oh no, I got clients who got kids, right? And it's not about the kids as much as it is about you being better for everybody, for yourself first, for heaven's sakes. If moms can get themselves permission to do that, right? Mm-hmm. You can save everybody around you if you just finally one day, for God's sakes, give yourself permission to save yourself. And what she talked about, y'all, all of that was free. Meditating was free. Hiding in her closet was free. She had to get up early, right? To set the tone for the day and not allow the day to be ruined by checking your email or allowing your kids to come wake you up because they loud. My nephew, they loud. I mean, extra crispy loud, right? Like you're not allowing your day to run your circumstances. You're creating the circumstances and the intention of what you want for your day. So what advice do you have for busy moms? Mm-hmm. What are 1 or 2 things that they could do? Because when I reached out to you in December, or you sent me an email, and you was on a momcation, were you in a hotel or something, hiding from your
by myself?
So talk to us about that, because once you give yourself permission to take care of yourself, and you rediscover who you are, right? Not who life made you. And a part of the week 3, what we talk about, week 3 is really when you navigate how you have been living your life. And then week 3, you become aware of your life. We don't know how we live it. We don't know we out here raggedy. We don't know that we've surrendered the greater part of our life or our child marriage years for a job, or like Terry talked about in week 3, where she realized she had been, Terry could practice law in four states, and Terry lived her whole adulthood trying to prove a law professor wrong who told her that she would never make it 30 years before that, right? And so week 3 is when you become aware of where you are. And here's the thing, Ara, you don't know where you're going until you can actually admit to where you are. We ain't got time for that, and we're not going to do it. But if we can stop long enough, and once you become aware of it, it's like, great, now let's start with the truth, and now let's start to dig you out of the hole that you're in. So what advice do you have for women who, I think for busy moms who, I ain't gonna say they unwilling, because I don't want to lead the question. How can they take better care of themselves is my question in 2025 in these chaotic streets?
Yeah. Very often we hear people say when they're talking about relationships, I'm not going to waste my youth on him. You have to decide not to allow yourself to waste your youth and be buried in that kind of life, right? Because the best relationship we'll ever have, the most meaningful one we'll ever have, is with ourselves. So I'm like, I'm not going to allow this unpleasant life to take over my youth and what I have left of these really performative, high earning years and everything, right? So one of the 2 key things were important for us in my house. One, the vulnerability, because I would tell my children, y'all remember how mama used to have an attitude all the time and didn't want to be bothered about XYZ? Y'all talking too much, and those kind of things. And so I'm like, y'all, if y'all don't give me this time, that person's going to show up again, right? And so they remembered that and didn't want that. And then I also brought them into the fold of my process. I did not, when my parents lost their parents, they didn't let us see what that process looked like. My children saw it all. They saw the good, they saw the bad. I was very honest about the conversations and why I'm putting that work into myself and what that might look like for them, but how it was going to be better for the household. It's made me a better wife. It's made me a better mother. It's made me a better sibling. And it's made me better for myself all around. But my children sit and meditate with me sometimes. I have crystals. We go, and when we travel, we go climb mountains and go to the crystal store and get all of those purposeful things. And by them realizing that they're a part of the process, then it didn't seem as though something was being done to them or that they was losing something from their mom, whether it be time, energy, or whatnot. And so now my children, they take long baths and they have all the setup. And I encourage those things because then they won't allow themselves to settle for anything less as they continue to age and relate with other people.
That's so good, because kids do what you do. They don't do what you say. And I talked to so many women who were like, well, anxiety runs in my family. I'd be like, unless you were born twitching, that's a lie. You just saw your family not cope with their stuff, and you just developed a way to ignore. You adopted their habits of ignoring it until you just, talking and say, well, it runs in my family. No, it does not. You adopted their behavior of not coping and not moving through stuff. I remember one of the calls that, because I had to get on y'all calls a couple times. I had to be called by Kathy. Kathy, you still there? I had to be called by Kathy. Because what I never really told her, I'm saying in the interviews a lot. Some people just don't pay attention. I have coaches who are amazing, right? Let's just let it out. I got coaches. So I would have to get texts from Coach Kathy talking about, Christy, you need to get on the call. And I'm like, what is going on? For Ara. But here's the thing. We wanted...
I think you want to date that night too.
I was trying to run game, and you were that busted up a game. We wanted your transformation, right? And it's like, we're not here. This ain't about money for us. Now, we want our money. I want to be clear. Christy Rutherford don't work for free. But if you're going to invest your money, we're investing our time. And we wanted your transformation so bad But I remember the one night where we talked about your grief. You would run into a wall and then you would slide down the wall. So I want you to give the audience the technique that I gave you. And I want you to talk about how you employed it, because there are so many people who are going through grief, right? And they're going through things. And I actually talked to Zona about this. And then I also talked to Renee about this when they were moving through their grief. I'm like, I remember I had this lady. This is what I told her to do. I want y'all, because it works. So what was that technique? And then I want you to talk about how you employ it, and then how that has shifted you in your energy where you are right now.
That is such a good question, because it highlights the gift that you have. The statement you made is, how can you make this feel like water? I was taken aback by that. I love water. The beach is my favorite place on earth. And so I'm like, it put me to a place of smelling the beach and feeling like, well, when you're in water, you're like this, right? So that doesn't mean you get out of the thing. You let it and allow it to flow through you. You acknowledge it, you recognize it, but it doesn't have to be paralyzing. And when you say, the money piece, I remember when I called myself getting out of the program, I was like, y'all can keep the money. I don't care. I'll make sure. And I was willing to let go of that money because the work was just that hard, but so worth it, y'all. You cannot, the coaches, the questions, the process doesn't allow you to be surface level. You have to get down and dirty into the intracellular level of yourself. So yes, that's what it was. It was, how can you make this feel like water? And I use that even now whenever I'm faced with any kind of challenge. But no challenge is great anymore. It's just like, this is just another thing. It's not, oh my God, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And this is, it's just, all right, that's just another something. How do we make the next best decision?
One day we're gonna have to do an interview with Kathy. I wish Kathy was like on the line legit. I just sent her the link. Kathy, I'm gonna text you the link. Let me know if you can get on. I'm gonna text her when I ask artists question.
And then that night, I didn't even think I was a problem. I thought things were going fine in that session. Whenever Kathy called you and said you needed to get, I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to talk to Christy.
We're doing an intervention right now. This is because we're so happy for you, right? Like I think that's like the biggest part. This is all joy. Because here's the thing, the work isn't that hard. You were just resistant. That's the
I made it harder.
Yeah.
I made it harder. I can say that with full confidence. If I would have just trusted the process, I paid these people this money. I met these people. Like, trust the process. Who does that? Who signs up for stuff and then just be like, well, y'all ain't doing it. I know, but how I know obviously did not get me anywhere in the first place. So,
well, I think a part of it, Kathy's coming. This is gonna be so good.
Oh gosh,
we're about to tell the truth. I don't know where this episode is going. We ain't got long. Kathy, I just texted to you because and one, I appreciate your vulnerability, right? And I appreciate you sharing your insight, because you're gonna help so many people today. Because so many women don't believe that they can be happy. It's disappointing to me. And then they be like, I'm selling snake oil, and I'll be like, how am I a liar? How am I a fraud when I just told you that you can be happy? That's all I said was that you can be happy. We ain't even talking about the money piece, which you got your money, but we ain't even talking about that. But it's like, I just believe that you can be whole. So the technique of when Ara would hit that grief, Ara would slide down the wall and just stay there for days. And I'm like, Ara, you gotta learn how to move through the grief. So it's acknowledge it. And I think a part of the resistance was, you thought that I was trying to tell you that you shouldn't go through grief, or that you shouldn't suffer through it, or that you shouldn't feel it. And I'm like, no, feel it, acknowledge it, but don't let it paralyze you, right? Don't let it make you stop moving forward in the things that you want. Acknowledge it, but then move through it, and not try to like fight through it, and not try to pull yourself through it, but like move through the emotions of it, and then know that there is joy on the other side, right? Oh, this is gonna be hilarious. Here she goes.
Okay, you showed up for real. I love to see you.
Listen, it is so good to see you. Thank you for letting me come on, Christy. You look amazing, Ara. You look amazing. Woo,
As
what?
you as well.
Oh my goodness. What a transformation. Go ahead, Christy. What you want to know? This one right here.
I didn't think I was that bad.
You have me on my prayer knees. My knees is why I'm praying for you. Like Lord Jesus, let me.
And y'all was still also kind to me when we would show up in Vegas and Atlanta and everything. That just goes to show you the kind of people y'all are.
Yeah.
Because it's not personal.
It's not personal.
Yeah, it's not. We don't take your attack because they want to attack. I want to be clear. Look at Kathy. We didn't.
Oh, y'all had me crying.
Personally, because we're whole.
Yes.
Right? We didn't take your attacks personally because we knew that we were trying to get you to somewhere greater. This isn't ego for us. Right. This is, we know. Look how fine Kathy is. Did you know Kathy was that fine? Are you looking at?
Yeah, I see. Yeah, you got it going on, Miss Kathy.
I mean, like she's about 35.
I wish. I'm trying.
So Kathy, I want you to finish it up. But this is about transformation. This is about us doing our duty, right? When thou art converted, strengthen thy sisterin. We want you to come join us in the land of unicorns and joy and taste the rainbow of the Skittles thing, because life is so much greater. How many people you can serve? Because apparently, Kathy, she's telling her story at work. We'd be like, thank you, Lord. So people are benefiting from her transformation. And so all it is just about giving people hope that they can have joy. Go ahead, Kathy.
No, I think you're 100% accurate. I just remember Ara just was really like tightly wound and angry. And I mentioned that before, like you were really, really angry. And one of the things, Christy, I love when she because she can read people in 30 seconds. She can tell you exactly what's going on because she's just that skilled and that good at what she does. And I remember for the first time, really, I think with you, really seeing it through that lens, like, oh, this is what an angry woman really looks like, right? Not really, like ready to fight everybody, but just holding it in. And you were so needing and wanting the breakthrough, and you stay committed. I know you had a moment when you was like, nah, that's all right, kid, you can have my coins, right? But I'm so glad that you didn't. I'm so glad that you stuck with it. As Christy talked about, like, we're very much invested in you prospering and winning. We 100% believe in God's grace and what He has for you, and getting you to recognize how what you get becoming greater is going to just impact your family and your money. Because Christy tell us we're trying to get to the coins, right? But in doing that, we can be greater, we can be better. So I'm just grateful that you were able to come through the program and that you're here today looking amazing.
Thank you. And in that anger, how it shows up on the outside, when it was a lot of hurt and just feeling like there's no connection to anything, right? I mean, that's how it showed up on the outside. Can you imagine how long I was walking around thinking that I was showing up in a very pleasant way to people, and it's just like, oh Lord, to see her coming and start running the other way because of. So yeah, you hit it spot on. You got me crying in here.
Messing up her mascara. One of the things that Bob Proctor said, he says, when you get a gift from God, it's from God to me, through me, to Kathy, from Kathy to you. Now, who are you going to give it to? Because she's giving it to the people at her job. So for us, that's what it's about. And when women want to work with us and just be like, I want a better job, I'll be like, but you don't have nothing in the background you want to unpack, right? You don't have nothing that you're holding on to. They're not willing to admit to it, but it's like, I want women who want to change the world, but they're just stuck in their present circumstance, right?
You talk about that act 3, right? That purpose. And it's so funny because I knew my purpose was with leadership and everything, but I was to be a different type of leader. And when I tell you how impactful that has been for the people that I interact with on a day-to-day basis, it's beyond words, okay? And I remember I was unpacking. We're still unpacking, all right, y'all. I think we were moving when I was in your program. We're still unpacking. So I came across this backpack from high school, and it was a report, my 17-year-old self, that talked about the dreams of being in corporate and leadership and impacting people's lives. So how many years, I can say this now, and I know it's not a waste, but I'm like, how many years did I waste in that time frame of being a professional to going through this process of transformation where I was not giving the full self and working in that purpose for what I was here to deposit upon this earth and with people. And so now for it to be full circle and to come across that not even a year ago, and I have it on my I love me wall, and I'm like, I'm doing the very thing that I was called to do. And it was with being a different type of leader. And that's not just in the corporate segment, right? But in all these other areas where we do, and it's like, okay, byproduct, yeah, my money changed drastically, exponentially. My money grew, right? And then so you said it all the time, and me even growing up in church and all that good stuff, right? Is what you're gonna do with it though. And so starting scholarship funds and doing what we do when it comes to domestic violence and providing housing and all of that. It just is it has to start from somewhere. And you can't have those benefits whenever you just stay stuck and unpleasant. And you use the word happiness. I have moved beyond happiness. When I think about happiness, it could be very fleeting, right? Based upon the conditions around it. I have pure D joy. I don't care. I can wake up with a smile on my face, and whatever is going on around me, y'all could take that, but I could tell you at the end of the day, I am joyful. I am beyond happiness.
Kathy, before we got on, she said people at work, people be asking her, why are you so happy? What's wrong with you?
And they didn't get my whole story. Yes, right. Yes.
I don't look like what I've been through, because Jesus, if you remember,
yes,
2022.
Yeah.
All right. So before we close out, Ara, I want to thank you for showing up and sharing your insight. I hope if y'all, if this touched y'all, just leave us a comment, let us know, because I've been waiting for this. I've been waiting for this interview because I think we were supposed to do it like a couple of years ago, but this came at the perfect time because here's the thing. Back in 2021, 2022, people are like, Chris, you need to lighten your tone a little bit for the times, right? I ain't do that. You be like, I ain't doing that. But the times haven't let up, y'all, because people kept thinking that these times of suppression and oppression and Black women are going through it, they just thought that was for a season. Now that's become normal, right? That's like it, and they've done nothing, and now hope and joy and all these other kind of things are just impossible. But it's not if you're willing to say, not me. It's not what people call you, it's what you answer to, right? And so I never softened my tone. I think, maybe, in the past. Okay, never mind, I'm lying. Okay, let me just stop. When I start stuttering, you'd be like, I was trying to sell it in both of y'all's face, just
no support.
Now we need you to be who you are.
Right. That's the effective piece. And I will tell you. And so first of all, stop telling these people this story. You were not trying to give me 2 years ago. It was probably just last year because good and well 2 years ago I was not ready. So no, it was just last year we were trying to do something, and I couldn't show up like this had it been 2 years ago. And there's levels to dealings with what you put in front of us, right? And so I am honored that I was even asked to join you and to have my own hour with you. I participated in the panels and needed that support of those other ladies, right, when we've been on Zoom, but I could show up like this. And it's all because of y'all, and it's because of me taking a bet and chance on myself and not anyone else anymore.
Well, I think the bigger part, one, time is fleeting, so I don't know what year it is. You be like, just like you. She says she wake up, Kathy, she don't know what the day of the week it is. You be like, maybe it was last year. You be like, I forgot, 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we're gonna close. Kathy, do you have any last words for Ara? And then I want you to give people advice on where they are right now? Because Kathy, you have kids too. You got teenagers too, right? Like, and you were a client in a program who's now a coach in a program. So what advice do you have for people who are, you know, going through it today, but blaming the current circumstances and not understanding that it's some of the stuff that they haven't unpacked?
Yeah. So first, let me say, Ara, I'm so grateful for your transformation. I'm so pleased and just like you stuck with it and you did the work and it's showing and you just are amazing and beautiful. And I'm just so proud to have been part of your journey. But for all of the ladies that are watching, everybody that's watching, I think it's important what Christy talks about. As she talks about time, and sometimes we don't know what day it is, right? But I want to share that time is not lost when you are taking care, when you're reclaiming it in a different way, right? When you're honoring the space, and when you're saying when you're doing the hard work of figuring out how to be better in present. And being present, right? Not living in the past, not having anxiety about what's going to happen in the future, but getting yourself to be whole right now is the work. And the time will be made. God always makes the time available to us when we do the hard work of showing up fully in our power and on purpose. And that's what you did, Ara. You are totally, I remember what you said you wanted to do. Big things, right? All of the servant leadership stuff that you talked about, all of the stuff around give it back to your community. Like all you needed was to be able to sit in that space, heal your past, and be present for your now so that you can make a greater future. So you're a living testimony to what is possible. So am I. I think, you went through it a couple years ago. I went through it 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And Christy put a crazy post up of me and how I used to look, baby. Oh,
I was hoping she did not put those photo comparisons. Oh, so thank you.
She'll do it to you, right? She asked for permission, but I'm just saying the information continues, right? And I've been doing it 5 years now, right? So I just want to encourage all of the ladies that you can reclaim your time, but you got to do that work.
Don't be talking about that's how you live. That's how you live your life.
Oh gosh. And I will say, Kathy, to what you said, right? For all of those things in that big list that I had, I couldn't bring what I was full of into that new becoming, right? Because then it would have done more damage than being helpful to whoever those people, constituents, the receivers of those things were. So it was absolutely necessary. I don't think I would have been able to be blessed the way that I have been had I not done that work and proven myself ready and capable.
Well, you did the work, and I'm just so happy that you're still on your journey. So good.
Yep.
All right, y'all. What advice do you have for women who are considering us over here at Vision Finder International? What advice do you have for them?
Get the excuses off the table. Plain and simple. Anytime you allow your mind to come up with all of these different scenarios and everything, combat it with, all right, how can I not have this be an excuse anymore? That's the best gift that you could give to yourself, because nobody else is going to pave the way for you. You have to do it for yourself. Nobody's going to show up for you like you.
And what advice do you have for them with regards to how it's changed your family dynamics and maybe wondering whether or not that's possible?
It is so fun. Like, I have fun with my family. Like, I like them and they like me in return. And we talk about everything at a very deep level. So I'm not worried about when I'm not here. Like, that used to be a worry when I was a single mom. Like, oh my gosh, please, as I'm traveling for work and everything, right? Like, let me make it to where I need to be safely, because who is my child going to go to if I'm not here? Nobody's going to raise her like I would and everything. Now, I don't worry about what happens with those children, because they're seeing it and they're getting those lessons, because we are talking and having those deep conversations around the dinner table and saying, you know what, that whole thing you're talking about with your friend, let me tell you about when mommy was your age, and how it doesn't change as you become adults. It's same script, different cast, right? So all of those lessons are extremely true, and it sticks with them because it's not, I told you, and just with that forceful, degrading, demanding type of persona.
I don't know how I made you the smaller box. You'd be like, "What this thing doing?" I was trying to make her the bigger box. Oh, here we go. This is where we can get it here. All right. Well, I'm gonna let y'all go because we could be on here for the next 2 hours. All right, work.
Thank you.
So Ara, thanks for showing up. Kathy, thanks for showing up, popping up, because we're so proud of you. I mean, my God.
I love y'all. I really love y'all. Y'all have a special place in my heart, and everybody deserves to get the experience. I'm telling you.
All right.
Thank
Bye,
you.
y'all. Bye, y'all. Take
All
care.
right, y'all. Have a good one, everybody.